Hello and welcome to everybody who watched the fantastic coverage of the Zagreb Grand Chess Tour. I caught the very end, the interviews and the wrap up that Maurice, Yasser, and Christian did. As usual, they did a fantastic job, and as someone who's worked with them, it's always very nice. To see professionals at work. This show is going to be a lot more amateur hour. I'm doing this on my own, and as usual, hi. I do read chat, and please tell me if you can hear me, if you can see me. All of these things are incredibly important because I'm, Tech Peter is not the techiest of Peters. So we'll start by. I don't know what I can add to the wrap up that you've just watched. I assume, but I can take some questions, and my personal impressions are sort of in line with what you've just watched. I'm extremely happy for Vishy. Of course, congratulations to MVL. It's very nice to see MVL win a tournament. He's had, I think, a little bit of a rough go of it recently. I think the Endless Candidates tournament must have been a very significant drag on his morale. And now that he's finally won a very big event, I think we can hopefully see him return to his absolute best, and his absolute best is, of course, really good. But yeah, for me, representing the older generation here, obviously, I'm very happy for Vishy. Vishy, I think, sort of, he won the last day. He's done exceptionally well. He at some point threatened to, launch a late bid for first, but in the end, just comfortably took second place. I can show you some graphics. Once again, you've just watched a full wrap-up, but perhaps, for some of you who have missed it, we can start by the situation, the tournament standings before the day started. And as you can see, Jan Nepomniachtchi was leading MVL by half a point, and Anish in third, and Vishy in fourth. And it did seem like it's going to be a two-horse race at the top, honestly, the way, not just because of the standings, but mainly, I thought, because of the way both Jan and MVL were playing through the first 3 days of Rapid, and also the first day of Blitz did not really seem to change my opinion. And as a side note, I will be playing some banter once we're done with the first parts of the show. But the way the challenges work on Kasparovchess.com, they get timed out if I don't accept them immediately. So there is really no particular point in issuing challenges now. Banter will be in about an hour. Thanks very much for the sub, Eric-san, by the way, and welcome to the channel. Thank you for your support. Why didn't you prepare Gary better? It's all your fault. I know, right? I am accepting full responsibility here, because why else? What else could explain what happened? On a more serious note, I wish I could have helped more. And what Gary said about training games is absolutely true. I did not get 50% in the training games, and it was extremely saddening for me as a lifelong, fan of Gary's, to watch him struggle. I think basically under the self-imposed pressure of playing in front of the global audience, and once again playing in a serious tournament. If he could just let himself go and just enjoy chess, he would have scored, unbelievably better in this tournament, I think. But it's hard for him to shake off the old competitive instincts and just completely ignore the tournament situation and all that. And I think he just puts too much pressure on himself. So yeah, and that obviously that's a topic that a lot of people, myself included, were very very interested about in before the tournament even started. How will Gary do? He obviously will not be happy with how he's done. But I've watched the interview, and it is such a recognizable, and despite the result, it made me feel. I kept on smiling throughout the interview because Maurice kept on trying to steer him towards, general questions about, what do you think of the tournament and what do you, how do you feel about this and that? And Gary just kept on wanting to, discuss specific chess positions. He is still unbelievably passionate about the game of chess, and it's fantastic to see. It's such a privilege to talk chess with him, and I've enjoyed every time I got to do that. So yeah, that's on the topic of Gary playing in this tournament. And as for today, I can show you some more graphics, even though I'm sure most of you will have seen them just now in the wrap-up show. So I showed you what the standings were before today's 9 rounds of Blitz. The final standings after today's 9 rounds of Blitz look like this. MVL winning with an actual 2-point margin at the top there. And Jan had an absolute nightmare today. I spoke to him briefly just now because I was wondering if everything was okay. Honestly, he played so well the first 4 days and so poorly today that I kind of wanted to check in and ask him if he was fine. And he just kind of faded today, and the rub of the green also did not perhaps go his way in some spots, in as much as such a thing exists in chess. But yeah, he had a very 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 good 4 days, and then a very bad day 5, and that knocked him off a pedestal. Even he is not even in the top 3. I mean. And yeah, Vishy in second, Anish in third. Anish had a very solid tournament, but seeing Vishy above him in the final standings is, as I said, for me as a representative of the older generation, it does bring a smile to my face. And the point standings for this tournament are like this. You've seen the money earned, but the point standings are perhaps even more relevant for some of these players. And we now have only the St. Louis tournaments left in the Grand Chess Tour this year. First the Rapid and Blitz, and then the classical, the Sequel Cup, which will be classical, and hopefully I will do some commentary on that. That was also a question I saw in chat, and obviously, with the world being what it is right now, it's very difficult to make any kind of definitive promises. But I'm hoping to be able to do commentary on the St. Louis legs of the tour. Do you think Ivan could win the whole thing if he played Blitz? Probably not, but sad as that statement might sound, it's a second tournament. Let's put it like this: it's a second tournament in a row where there's a pairing in which the player playing the Blitz half is by far the bigger household name, both in Paris, where Etienne Bacrot played with Vladimir Kramnik, and here in the Šarić-Kasparov pairing, and it ends up being a very, very proud, very good performance in the Rapid, and then a bit of a disaster in Blitz. But I think we covered what Gary's play looked like, and what I think are the root causes of that. And for me as a fan, and for many, many people, I think it was kind of painful to watch, because you could still see flashes of brilliance, and some games Gary played where, he won a very nice game today, and there were spots where you could still see the old Gary waking up. But in general, of course, he would have wanted something entirely different from what happened over the last 2 days. I think that's probably enough of the wrap-up. I think Gary should play more tournaments. I have a feeling that, I mean, we would all enjoy watching him play, but I think for his own, peace of mind, he probably will not be playing much more chess, and I don't think he just, it's he makes it too hard for himself. He's still an exceptionally strong chess player, specifically outside of tournament settings. But when he plays tournament chess specifically, he makes it just too hard on himself, and I don't know if he will, this particular performance, I would suggest, probably doesn't make him more likely to play more tournaments in the future. I think this about wraps up what we've seen in Zagreb. If you have some more questions, I can continue answering them while we're doing puzzles. But we will switch for now. To showcasing the website, and as in my previous stream, I will be doing some solving together with chat. Yeah, definitely. Gary struggled in openings, and it was such a bizarre experience to realize that there are now areas of the opening theory which I probably know slightly better than he does, because this has never ever been true for like the entirety of my life, and it's mind-boggling to me. I don't know how to react to that, honestly, because Gary has always been at the absolute top of the food chain in terms of opening prep, and I have always had a very, very relaxed attitude towards opening preparation. I've obviously done quite a lot of it over the years because I'm 45. It's difficult to avoid, but the idea that Gary now occasionally asks me about things in Grunfeld, the opening I picked up only because he was playing it in the 80s, is just so strange to me. Anyway, let's do some solving, and we can also continue talking on various subjects as we do solving. So this is the website, kasparovchess.com/home, looks like this. And there's plenty of content, and there will be more and more content available on the website as more and more things get recorded. And but there's already a great wealth of stuff available, in particular under the Learn button. And here, there's a lot of lessons you can go into lessons and sort them by theme, trainer level, all kinds of things. And I have four sets of lessons prepared for today, or rather 3 sets, and then a study which I was told is incredibly beautiful but very difficult. And honestly, I'm a bit apprehensive today because when setting up the overlays, I clicked around a little bit. I didn't try to solve anything, but obviously, the moment you show me a chess position, it is very difficult for me to, stop thinking about it. And I can already report that there is one puzzle I will be showing you towards the end of this segment, which I've had in my mind for about an hour and a half, and I still have no idea what the solution is. Which I suspect is probably not because it's unsolvable, but just because I appear to be dumber than usual today. That's my initial impression, is that I'm just not very bright today, and this might be a bit of a problem as we solve, but we'll see. But we'll start with some things which I probably can solve, and try to solve them together. Time to bring out Stockfish 14 then. Yeah, I kind of never do that. This is, you don't see the title, you do see the panel on the right, which gives a bit of a hint. But this is an advanced series of puzzles for Ivanka Hauska's dovetail mate sequence. And in general, this is going to be, as I understand what dovetail is, dovetail, I guess. Yeah, I should probably pronounce things properly. It's a kind of a mating sequence where two pieces coordinate to kind of corral the king to the mating square. And yeah, of course, this being a mating sequence, and in the starting position, there is only move that is even a check. So solving this one is kind of simple. You start giving checks, and you kind of hope one of those checks eventually becomes mate. And in this particular position, this will work. G5, f takes G5, we play queen C6. I could give you more time to solve, but this particular one is kind of simple, and you've already started suggesting the correct solution. And now after king H5, I will point out that if king goes to G7, we can play queen D7, and eventually, whoops, that's the wrong arrow. Eventually, if the king stays on the H6, G7 squares, we can get close enough to the king that we can start giving checks, which will be difficult / impossible to meet. In fact, I think maybe king G7 would have allowed us to give a more beautiful mate in the end, but the problem was to play king H5. So what do we do here? We have some checks. Queen F3 doesn't really make much sense because, if nothing else, the king can go back. Bishop E2 blunders a bishop. So we only really have one sensible option here, which is bishop F7, and then queen H6 check, and then bishop E6, which is... why are you not allowing me to give mate from the E6 square program? I will take that back and play queen H3, but that's kind of harsh. I think I think penalizing me for giving mate in one is puzzle programs sometimes do that, but it is a little bit harsh and not a great start on my relationship with this particular program today. I feel like people and things are ganging up on me a little bit. But yeah, I understand that queen H3 is maybe slightly more aesthetically pleasing than bishop E6, but bishop E6 could hardly be described as a mistake. So let's get to the next one and see what we can figure out about this one. This one already is significantly more difficult. Although I did solve it, but my initial idea was probably also winning, but since this is a mating puzzle, you kind of stumble onto the correct solution at some point. So what do we see here? The white king is completely cut off on the back rank, and yeah, I already see one correct solution in chat. But the mating squares are controlled by the queen and the knight, so you cannot simply play queen f2 check and let's say queen f1 mate for at least the very simple reason that queen takes f1 exists. And my first idea was to play queen c1 check, and after queen f1 we can play queen c5 check and take the pawn on h5 as check, which is very nice and probably ends up winning in the long run because we are then 2 pawns up in an endgame, and we have better pieces. So I assume we end up winning some 30 moves later. But as GM Kanzi already pointed out, in this position there's a very, very cute geometrical solution, which is we lure the king to the f2 square by playing bishop f2 check. Of course the king can go to the h file, but then we pick up a full queen by queen takes f1, and after queen takes f2, the white pieces are so bunched up and they take squares away from the white king so efficiently that queen e3 ends up being a mate. This is a very, very nice example of coordinating your two remaining pieces in order to lure the king on g1 to its doom. So let's get to the next one. This one is I think, if anything, is probably simpler than the previous one, even because the previous one required some imagination. This one really is just brute force and knowing the rules of pins. So yeah, I can leave it on the screen for a bit, but it really isn't that challenging because there's a king on h7. We would like to start giving checks to it, so we take on h5, using the fact that the g6 pawn is pinned. We can take on h5 again, and then queen h6 is just made. This one is really reasonably straightforward. Stepping across to the next one. This looks like a very, very natural position, and I like solving positions which do look like they could, very easily occur in a practical game. What do we see here? Well, we already see some correct answers, but my original impression was that rook d7 is quite strong, but it felt like it's a little bit too inconcrete. And then, yeah, I spotted, just as you guys in chat have also spotted, that we can make a nice little combo using the distraction motif here by playing rook d8 check, overloading the queen on e7, because queen on e7 is, rook e7 probably wins, but is not forcing enough, exactly. The queen on e7 is preoccupied protecting the pawn on g7, so we can give this check. If the rook gets taken, of course, we play queen takes g7 with mate, and here we can also play queen g7, queen g4 check, and then queen g8. This is a nice kind of a shuttle sequence. I'm sure other moves here are winning as well, but it's very cute to first drive the king back to the square it came from, and now because the pawn on g7 is already removed from the board, we can go queen g8 and deliver mate to that king on f7. The final puzzle for this set is this position, which looks like it might be some kind of a Sicilian, maybe a dragon. If I needed to guess, it could also come from some King's Indians, but if this is a King's Indian, it probably is some kind of a Zamish, and in a Zamish, if this was a Zamish, white played it horribly because, at some point you need to start pushing on the queen side, and it seems like only black really made any progress at all in this game. The solution somebody already posted in chat is, I think, correct. What's the rating of these puzzles? I don't really know how the rating for these puzzles work. There's no immediate rating assigned to it on the screen. This is an advanced set. All of these, thanks for the mods for providing this info, because I'm not very good with specific numbers for these things. But what I wanted to say is all of these thematic videos are split into levels. And for this theme, we are solving Dovetail Mate Tournament in Advance, which is, as the mods are saying, aimed at 16 to 1900, although obviously they vary puzzle to puzzle, and some of them are simpler, some of them are more difficult. And yeah, in this position, we are down 2 exchanges. White has 2 rooks for our 2 bishops. And white is threatening to trade queens. If the queens do come off, black will have some. Let's say if you miss the correct solution and you take on e4 here and take on b2, I have a suspicion black makes a draw rather comfortably, despite being 2 exchanges down, because of how many pawns we have for the exchanges. But instead of making a draw here, it's much better just to win. And in order to win, of course, we would like to avoid trading queens. Kasparov Peter looking fresh compared to Hearthstone here. Yeah, I decided to get my freshening up for Sochi done today, so that it also coincides with the stream. Yeah, thanks for that. So we kind of want to avoid trading queens here, of course, and in order to do that, we give this double check on c3. A double check, of course, does not allow white to take on d5, because the other piece is also attacking the king. And now queen d2 check, I assume, king d3, and I think once again the way to give mate here is to drive the king forward and then drive it back. We take on b2, the king wants to run in this direction, but we can corral it by playing queen a2 check. The only spare is d3, now we give a check on d5, and finally we chase it down and mate it on e3. So a nice little puzzle. The only really challenging move here is the first one, bishop c3 check, which is a very nice illustration of how powerful double checks are, because they do effectively force the white king to start running, because you can't interpose, you can't capture anything when you're in double check. You have to start running. And of course, if the king starts running in this direction, queen d2 followed by king f1, bishop f5 check is also effectively made in a couple of moves. I need to rehydrate here because I was informed that the weather we have right now in St. Petersburg is mild compared to some other places on Earth, which is technically correct, and technically correct is, as we all know, the best kind of correct. But it's still pretty hot. I refuse to accept that this is mild weather, and I have a fan on full blast, and I still need water all the time to kind of survive. I'm not going to be streaming from Sochi, I assume, although I will have some rest days before my round starts, and I'm probably going to take the good machine with me. But I mean, right now, no, I'm still home. I'm flying day after tomorrow. I misunderstood your question. Yeah, it's like I went outside to get a haircut and get some groceries. It was 7 p.m. and 35 Celsius outside. I refuse to accept this as mild. That's just no. So we're done with dovetail mates, and let's switch to the next topic, which is advanced overloading. And we start with this position, which is already kind of messy. We're not, you have to appreciate just how messy this is, because it looks like it's the most, the simplest position in the world, because seemingly we can take on c6 and the game just ends. But a useful heuristic to fall back on in positions like this is, well, you don't see it on your screen, but on my screen it says overloading advanced. So this is an advanced puzzle, and for some reason they are giving you this position, and you have to immediately. I understand it's probably, you can also just calculate, but as someone who's been, solving puzzles my entire life, I feel like maybe, sharing some trade secrets here might be a bit useful. If you're solving a study, this is not a study, this is a position for a practical game. But what I want to say is, if you're solving a study, the first move is almost never going to be a check. So whenever you see a study and there's plenty of checks on move one, and then there are some moves which are not checks, you probably have to assume that the solution will involve moves which are not checks. And also, in a position like this, if there is a capture which appears to win on the spot, and yet, you are asked to solve this and told that this is not very simple, it's probably not that move. And the reason here, of course, as many of you have already pointed out, is if we take on c6, black will take with the queen, and if we make a mistake of taking on c6 again, we get mated on the back rank, because the knight on e4 takes away the f2 square from the king. And many of you have already also already suggested what I think is a correct solution. But I want the full solution from you guys. Bishop e7, I'm pretty sure is the right first move. But there is a very, very beautiful final move of the puzzle, which you still have to see, because after bishop e7, I think I can play queen. I think I can play queen c7, and you still need to finish the puzzle there, because the same knight c6 queen c6 queen takes c6 tactic will still work for black. It's still going to be an issue, and we're still a full rook down. I think I know what the answer is. I'm slightly confused about one part of the solution there, but I'm pretty sure I know in general what the solution is here. And I did specifically mention something which I spoke about, which seems very obvious, as a kind of a hint to you guys. And I don't want to kind of be overbearing here, but it's important that f2 square is covered by the knight on d4. We can maybe put this on the board so that you guys can have better visibility here. But this is relevant. Yeah, I don't know if that was my hint working or not, but now I finally see what I assume is a complete solution. Yeah, we take on c6. My question was, how do we win after king c8 here? But I assume queen a8 check, king d7, and then maybe even simply knight e5 check, followed by queen takes b7, is just a technically winning position. But the problem, of course, is, yes, what are we doing after queen takes c6? And as some of you have already pointed out, we can play bishop e6 check here. Very, very beautiful move. If king c8, we will take this with check, and black will not have time to play rook b1 mate. And if knight takes d6, we can finally take this queen, and our king, as I kept on mentioning, it finally has this f2 square available to it, which it didn't in the starting position. And it ends up being very, very relevant towards the evaluation position. It's actually kind of remarkable how playable even this position is. After knight e4, they could actually ask us to continue the line, but after knight e4, for instance, we can play king e3, rook f1 check, king e2, rook f2 check, and then king e3, and the checks do run out. And yeah, well done to BattleHag93, Deathlighter, and yeah, I think you are the two guys who more or less simultaneously provided us with the solution. So let's go to the next. This is quite interesting to me because once again, this being a puzzle, you kind of know what they want from us. And yeah, it's I think knight c6 king c8 we go queen a8 check, and then we play knight e5 check, and then we play queen takes b7, because that was my solution. And yeah, as I mentioned, when I gave the first speech about the position, I did mention that there was one part of the solution which was somewhat confusing to me, and that was that part. I couldn't see a way to win like an overwhelming amount of material after knight takes c6, king c8. And yeah, this is one interesting way to to talk about this position is I wonder if I ask you what sounds like an incredibly general question here. I wonder if this chat is five-head enough and can read my mind well enough to give me the answer I'm looking for. And please don't feel bad if you can't, because I think it's extremely unfair to do this. But does this position remind you of any recent current events in chess? would be the way to phrase this very, very general question. Because that honestly was I saw this, and I had this like immediate flashback, and I thought, this is very familiar. But the themes are actually slightly different. They are, related, but slightly different. Yeah, thank you, Annie. It only took us 20 seconds. Because, in a way, the first thing that came to my mind was the game, at Chess Mishra, won against, Leon Mendonca in round 9 of, that tournament, where he got his final GM norm. The material is very similar, and the themes of sacrificing our knight to promote pawns on the king side is also quite similar. But here, in a way, what Mishra played in that game is more striking than here. Because here, and many people have already pointed this out, we can sort of brute force it. We can play g4. If white takes with this pawn, we can of course collect the bishop to the fork. And if white takes on h4, both g3... No, g3 actually is not that good because white can pass. But g takes h3, h4, and h1 will win the pawn. So hg4, now we go h3. Of course, allowing bishop takes h4 next move would be a very, very big mistake. So we go h3. And in this position, while the king is so far away, we can finally crown our achievement by taking on g4, playing f3, playing f2. Obviously not h2 because the king is close to the f-pawn. So you have to push this pawn first, and then this pawn, and this becomes queen, and we win by comfort. So reasonably straightforward, honestly. Yeah, for me, the most striking thing about this puzzle was that first immediate recognition when I thought, this is some kind of a Mishra tribute. Which it probably isn't. But, that's how my brain works. Why doesn't g3 work? You mean after bishop takes h4? Yeah, if you take on h4 here and black plays g3, the issue is bishop takes f6, g2 is of course win. But if white just keeps the bishop on h4 and waits for black to play g2, then the bishop can return to f2. And maybe it's winning for black, maybe it's not, but it definitely isn't very clean. Other puzzles classified by difficulty rating, yeah, not rating, but they are clearly sorted into various difficulties. This is advanced, which I think we were told advanced is, hang on a second, tournament in advanced is between 16 and 1900. Advanced is probably similar range. How did Kasparov do today? Kasparov won game 1, and then had an absolutely winning position in round 3 and lost that. And he himself said in an interview that he became extremely dispirited by losing that game 3. So he made a draw against Anish in round 6, I think, and a draw against Jan in the last round. Yeah, Gary, as I said, I didn't score 50% against him. I won one game and I lost a couple and I made a draw somewhere. We played either 4 or 6. I did not get 50%. Some of this information is sort of proprietary, so I don't know if I can talk about the rest. Like, I've heard rumors of some other training matches that Gary played against players stronger than I am, in which he's also done quite well. So yeah, it's extremely saddening that he just seems to completely overburden himself on this tournament chess and doesn't show what I've seen him show in friendlies. Next one, please. This one seems reasonably straightforward. Once again, it does look like a Grunfeld, by the way. I probably, if I really work hard, I can probably figure out how to there's a specific discipline. Whoa! Thanks very much for that, Chipotle Sensei, and welcome to the 20 lucky people who got gifted the subs to Kasparovchess Twitch. Thank you very much for your generosity, Chipotle Sensei, and I probably shouldn't try. I'm losing my voice as is, but some usernames I know actually did not dodge, so I'm very happy for you guys. Welcome to Beanhead22, Strawberry 0387, Nick DeSadis, GM Carles, Deepstar6, Juju, Pablo Carnota, John Cardiff, Matez Tenteado90, Waifu Warrior, Hippie Gilmore, I Sabbath, Kuria Ure, Balbo, Kelderan, Venus, hey Venus, The Rites of Spring, Chess Dog, M. Kolipeter, and Mindboater 2000. Thanks very much, Chipotle. This is very, very generous. So yeah, hang on a second. This is not something I can do right now, unfortunately. Much as I would like to, but this is not something I can actually do right now. Hang on a second. Let me prevent that from happening again. Damn, I thought it was my boss. Yeah, it may have been mine. So yeah, there's a particular genre of the studies where you need to work backwards from the starting position and reconstruct how this position appeared. And I'm pretty sure if we worked really, really hard, I can probably place what kind of a Grunfeld this is. But as for the solutions, yeah, 93 just wins very, very comfortably here. And it does look very logical because we want to be generating a lot of pressure on this very fragile setup. So we go 93 check. We take on c1 using the fact that the bishop cannot take because we can pick up the queen. And then we can take on b4 and on d4, ending up with a full extra rook. So it's a very cute move. You always enjoy making a move like this on the board, but it's not it's a very logical move in this position, so I'm sure we would have gotten that. Next one. Finally, something I don't immediately know how to solve. I have a feeling I have a decent idea of what the solution might be, but it feels a little bit not forced enough. Yeah, my first thought was rook d5, which looks like a very cute geometric idea. If the bishop takes on d5, we can take on d8, and the pin will win us a full piece. Unfortunately, if we play rook d5, they will take with the rook. And we'll take the pawn, they'll take with the bishop, and what we've done there is just given up a pawn for not very much. So it has to be something else. And yeah, the thing about positions like this is, if this was a practical game, I wonder how easy it would be for me to solve. But knowing that this is a puzzle, you immediately start looking at the forcing moves in this position. And the most forcing move in this position, once you rule out rook d5, is the move c3. B takes c3, we play rook c4, as Chess Press has already, and Kramnik Student have already pointed out. And we collect the material here. It's actually a very interesting moment to cut off the puzzle as well, because white can play d7. I think mods are watching this, so for this particular puzzle, it's not incorrect at all. But I would suggest continuing it for one move further, asking the students to reply to d7 here. Because if you imagine white playing d6, d7 in this position, it creates a very strong threat of rook g8 check followed by d8 queen. And we do not have the move rook d4, which would normally be winning very comfortably here. But we do have the move king f6 or king h6. But I think, you know, making king f6 correct is the way to go here, because you want to create a threat of king e7. So I think adding d7 and accepting both king f6, and actually don't accept king h6. d7, king h6 loses, I think, because of g5 check, king h5, and then rook h8, bishop takes d7, rook takes h7 mate. So it's strictly, I think, the only move that wins on the spot after d7. So I would suggest prolonging it for two more ply here, d7, king f6, and making the engine resign there. Next one. And if there was a pawn on f6, the whole sequence fails. Well, I mean, the rook ending is probably winning in the end there. We can just take on d7 via Telomeres. I'm pretty sure we would probably just take on d7, play rook a4, and win the rook ending if we had more pawns on the king side. With the amount of pawns we do have, I'm not sure that rook ending is winning, which is why I was sort of complaining. Rook e1 is, of course, the first thing that comes to mind, but the issue with that is, I mean, it's the correct solution, I'm pretty sure, but you have to continue solving. I will tell you what the problem is. We play rook e1 check, they go bishop f1, we play rook takes f1 check, they go king g2, and suddenly we find ourselves in a spot where the queen on d7 is hanging and the rook on f1 is hanging, and there is no way for us to connect them in any kind of a sensible way so that the queen protects the rook, because white is actually attacking that rook with both the queen on c4 and the king on g2. We can play queen f7, but white will just play queen takes f1 there. I am amazing. And I already see some correct solutions in chat. If I wanted to be obnoxious to you guys, I could continue asking you for more moves after that, but we can get to that position and then you will finish solving. Whoops, yeah, that's just a misclick, obviously. Rook e1. Queen h3 pin, I think white will start giving sort of countermate on the other side of the board, and we will not enjoy it. So we play rook f1, and as some of you have already pointed out, we play rook g1 check. And yeah, this is the point. You need to, like, I think ideally, although in this particular case, if you just blitz all of this out and start thinking here, it's not going to hurt you very much. But ideally, you would like to actually see that king f2 exists before you even play rook e1 check. And ideally, you would calculate the entire thing in your head before starting to click on the solutions. Why didn't the king take the rook? Because of the bishop e3 check and then bishop takes for j89. So after king f2, there's I think the only solution here which works, because once again our queen is hanging, our rook is hanging, and we need to do something. And yeah, we play queen f5 check here. Yeah, you cannot go queen f7. We discussed this. If you play queen f7 here, white plays queen takes f1, and you, instead of being up a bishop, you are down an exchange and actually losing. So yeah, queen f7 looks sensible, but unfortunately does not work for tactical reasons. After king f2, you can give a check from f5, and then a check from e3, and then a check from f2, and then we pick up the rook. It's a very forcing sequence, so I wouldn't say it's extremely, like, the one really difficult move you need to see from some way off is the rook g1 check move. Because if you get here, I think calculating queen f5, bishop e3, and queen f2 is not very difficult. But it's a cute puzzle nonetheless. And with this, we're done with the overloading. Yeah, this is the one that scares me. This is the one that scares me, and this entire sequence of puzzles scares me a great deal, because I've had this position in my head for quite some time, and I still have no idea how to solve this. This is from Romain Edouard's Improving on Missed Chances course, and this is expert level, so this is harder than what we've been doing so far. And not just a little bit harder, this is a lot more difficult than the previous ones. So let's first take stock of what's going on in the position in general. White is currently up a full piece, but the bishop on c6 and the knight on d7 are attacking the rook on d7. And if we do nothing here, we will guys, you are geniuses. Or perhaps you know. Like, one of those two things is true. Because I started by b5 and I just couldn't solve it. But yeah, queen c2 is very, very beautiful. I just didn't see it at all. This is very cute. Yeah, so let me show you. The problem is, you know, I can draw a million errors. I would really like to be able to show you some of my calculations on the actual board. But the moment I make the wrong move here, yeah, and if you didn't know Pika Pika, it's very, very nicely done by you. I wanted to play b5 here. Bishop takes d7. I wanted to take on f6, g takes f6, and then I have queen g4 check, followed by, for instance, queen d4, attacking both of the bishops on d7 and d6, and also the pawn on f6 was check. And I thought that was the solution. And then I realized black has queen d5, and I could not make that position work at all. But yeah, now that you guys mentioned that the move queen c2 exists, I immediately realized it's the strongest move in the position. And the point is, of course, that we now set up the situation where we can attack the pawn on h7 and the queen on a8 here. So we take on f6, we go knight g5, attacking there and there. And this final position will require some technique, but not a lot of technique, honestly, because of how broken up that position is here. The rook c8 position took was kind of worrying me a little bit, but I think if black plays rook c8 here, both queen d3 and maybe even bishop c3 are reasonably comfortably winning for white. In particular, I think queen d3 switching the attack to the black bishops along with d5. It's a very, very nice puzzle, and I don't know how long I would have been banging my head against the b5 lines if you guys didn't tell me about queen c2. So I'm very happy you're here, because I really felt kind of stupid. Now I also feel kind of stupid, but I feel good for you, and that's an improvement in my mood. Let's see if I can solve anything at all in this set. This looks like a very promising position for black. I would assume I'm kind of winning if I had this position in a practical game, but obviously we would like to win kind of straight away. We don't want the game to last too long, because the pawn on c2 looks extremely promising. But if you, let's say, imagine us taking on d6 here, the white king will start heading towards the c2 pawn. And yeah, drawing arrows is not my strong suit. And we can very, very easily lose it, and then the entire endgame will be a draw. So you have to be quite forceful here. So what do we think about this? We can play rook d1. White most likely will have to play knight e2. And I don't know if that is enough. I have a feeling, like, I have an outline of a solution in my head, but it's just an outline, and I don't see how to cap it off. I want to play... this is very nice. Yeah, this is very, very good. Don't mess with me. Obviously, including e4, e4 as a check here is very interesting, but I didn't see rook d4 check. This is a very good solution. And in a way, maybe king g2 is better in terms of prolonging the suffering, but I think the point after king g2 we can play even e4, e3, attacking the pawn on f2 and also introducing a second very, very strong fast pawn onto the board. And I think we win quite comfortably. And after king takes e4, what I didn't see is specifically the move rook d4 check, which drives the king back to f3, and now we can use the vacant square on e5, which we just vacated, to win a full rook. This is very nice. And so far, yeah, I'm 0 for 2 and chat is 2 for 2, so we are doing splendid. What kind of... I know which opening this is from. This is very, very certainly an e5 bishop e5 Caro-Kann. And I think this is my full contribution to solving of this puzzle. I've told you what the opening was, so now you can solve and I will just watch, right? But in more seriousness, this is an unbelievably messy position. Black is threatening, if not mate immediately, then something very, very close to mate. White also has checks from here, checks from here. All of those checks will provide us with bishop takes e6 as a follow-up check. I think I have the solution, but my issue with what I think the solution is that I don't know how winning the position I will get is. It's a nice position, but I don't know if I'm actually winning or not. So let's talk about this. Yeah, I already see the move I would have, I think current. No, hang on, that just doesn't work. What am I talking about? I also wanted to play rook f8, king takes f8, win h8, but I think both me and Ronak Vagela missed that black has rook g7, g8 in that position. So we need to be smarter about things. If we play knight f6, they will take. We take on e6 with check. They will play king f8. We can take on f6 with check. They will play king e7. And in that position, I don't see... Yeah, people saying queen e8 xd are... there's a particular running joke on Facebook which what you're typing Deathlighter is basically you're just throwing in a repetition there and then you're playing knight f6 anyway. So the inclusion of queen e8 and then queen h5 back doesn't really do very much. But yeah, we've been just discussing that line. But I just want to tell you, it's not going to be funny to very many people, but there is a kind of a funny in-joke going on the Russian chess Facebook, where, I know what the solution is suddenly. Suddenly I realized what the solution is. Where Alexander Khalifmanov, an old-time friend of mine, and somebody I looked up since I was a very, very young kid, he posts endgame studies on his Facebook. Positions from practical play. In most cases, they are rook endgames, which look simple, but they never are simple. And for me, even simple rook endgames are not simple at all. And he asks for an opinion. And then an Azerbaijani grandmaster, Rauf Mamedov, who many of you probably will know, comes into the comments and says, "Chief, I would offer a draw here." And it happens with every single position. Doesn't matter if the position is difficult or easy. Doesn't matter if he has more pawns, fewer pawns. He just comes in and says, "Chief, I would offer a draw." So basically, those of you saying queen e8 xd here are impersonating Rauf Mamedov right now, saying, "Chief, whatever other checks we have, I would offer a draw here by playing queen e8, queen h5, right?" Which is, Rauf Mamedov is an extremely strong grandmaster. So, being Rauf Mamedov is not the worst thing you can aspire to in life. But, yeah, I think knight f6 wins. And the thing I missed originally is that in this position we can play rook f7 and then knight c5 check. And in this position there has to be some way, I guess we can do like this. Okay, this is not a mistake, but I guess there is a faster solution. This can never really be a mistake because we can just return to c5 next move. But since the machine screams at me for this, I assume there is a better solution, which is we can play queen h6 check, but I don't know what happens after knight g6. Yeah, I kind of you want to play rook d7, but what does that do? Rook d7, rook takes d7. Why doesn't knight h6 work? Let's finish solving and I'll show you. I kind of really dislike the fact that it doesn't let me take... yeah, maybe knight takes e4. Yeah, knight takes e4. Whoa. This is definitely winning. I guess I'm just missing some kind of mate in blue here, which is a bit stupid. But not unusual. Rook takes g7 might actually allow some kind of a draw. Is it actually queen h6? Can't be, can it? I'm sort of running out of moves I can even suggest. Yeah, my first idea was queen e5, but we have already suggested better moves than queen e5. Like knight takes e4 definitely wins. After queen e5, queen takes e5. Maybe they do it in this order. No, yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense. This is extremely weird. Rook f6, king... yeah, maybe rook f6, king c7, knight e6. No. We tried knight b7, we tried knight e4. Both of those moves actually win. I guess they just don't win fast enough, but... I'm kind of annoyed at this puzzle by this point, so I want to ask it to tell me, but this is not very good for teaching, right? Rook g7 is not... Yeah, like queen takes g7 is okay, but also knight f3 check has to be calculated. So let's try playing queen h6. What? Okay. And after knight g6? Yeah, this is one of those things where I guess we take on e4 and we take on g7. But yeah, I don't want to, you know, the regulars of my own stream will, you know, laugh me out of this stream if I say I don't want to complain, because clearly I always want to complain and people know this. But yeah, this is... I guess knight g6, rook f6 check actually gives mate, and then knight h7 check. Fair enough, okay. I withdraw my complaint. But the moves we were suggesting were also winning. Anyway, and why wasn't knight h6 working? If we give a check from here, black will take. We take on e6, and then the bishop that is on h6 in this position will provide cover for the black king on h7, and we actually run out of checks and we lose. So I hope that answers your question. Who was asking why knight h6 wasn't working? Somebody was. Anyway, next exercise. Queen f7 in this position. Queen takes e6 wins a pawn. But it feels, you know, considering that so far, the puzzles we've seen so far are about winning on the spot. I will mention that queen takes e6 wins a pawn, and I will say I would assume that we want more. No, but knight e6 doesn't win at all. If we play knight e6 here, rook takes f2, rook takes f2, queen takes f2 is a check, meaning that we will not be able to play queen takes g7 mate. So knight e6, yeah, that's the first thing you look at, and then you realize it doesn't actually quite work. And my issue is, black wants to go knight e5 next move. Even something like h7, h6 will probably disarm all of our immediate tactics. And we have to do something right now. So I feel I have already solved the puzzle, but normally you win more than just a pawn. But it's a cute move to make on the board anyway. And in this position, of course, the queen cannot take the knight because rook takes f8 is a mate, so we end up in this pawn up endgame, which we are quite likely to win. But yeah, I was kind of assuming normally you get to win more material than just a pawn. And kind of a similar variation which we also need to calculate is if black takes on f4 here, we do not take on f7 because the rook will run all the way back to f7 and we lose a piece. But after rook takes f4, we can take on f4 ourselves, and queen takes e6, rook takes f8 is mate once again. And that actually concludes the the improving on missed chances expert level by Romain Edouard, and we switch to this position, which, considering how much trouble I got into solving the supposedly simple puzzles we've seen so far, I am filled with unbelievable apprehension here. See you around, Chess Player 960. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, because this is. I was told it's an extremely beautiful puzzle. Not a puzzle, actually. This is a study by an unknown author, where obviously, as you can see on the side here, both sides are winning, but White's winning idea is aesthetically stunning once you see it. Can you see find the critical line? And the first thing that comes to mind is playing e7, because we threaten queen takes b6, and we also threaten to win the pawn. But you have to see a good reply to knight f4 check. I'm pretty sure the problem is the move knight f4 check. The move knight f4 check distracts our pieces, creates a threat of g3, g2, discover check along the third, and if we take with the knight, queen d7 check becomes a move, and then the pawn will queen. So it's a horrible, horrible mess. And also, we've already been, talking and solving for more than an hour, and I feel like I might start just clicking on random moves here, because for me, and I know it's a problem and I should actually be working to somehow solve it, for me, I kind of give up on things a little bit too easily when I solve puzzles, and I should teach myself not to give up. Queen d8 is actually very interesting here. Somebody mentioned queen d8. Queen d8 also creates the same threat of queen takes b6. If black takes on e6, protecting the pawn on b6, we can actually give mate in 2 with queen a8 check, king b5, and knight c7, and the queen on e8 will take away the c6 square. So queen d8 definitely deserves attention. b4 looks interesting. b4 kind of does look interesting, but then you realize black can take en passant, and I am not sure what that does, apart from giving the black king some additional squares. And also, as I mentioned, this is no longer a position from a practical game. This is a study. And studies generally do not start by us giving checks. It actually is a useful heuristic for solving studies. It allows you to at least heavily discount some of the moves you would otherwise consider quite seriously. King on a5 is asking for it. Yeah, King on a5 definitely is asking for it a little bit, but asking for what exactly? Yeah, maybe we just make some kind of a quiet move like King d2, but then after h1, Queen e1 check is a threat. Queen f7 looks logical. I don't know if Queen f7 is a more logical move than Queen d8, for instance. Is King c4 crazy? My issue with King c4 is that it allows things like Queen g4 check. And we kind of start playing catch-up. We no longer really are the side driving the action. Actually, let's just start clicking on things. Let's try my first move. So e7 does turn out to be correct, and as I pointed out, knight f4 check is what you need to be worried about. Now, I would like to make a quiet move of some sort, like either King d2 or King c4 would be my first two choices. But I think it's probably King d2, just because I would like to place this king on a square where what did I want to say? Where it cannot be given checks, at least immediately. But the issue is, if we play King d2 here, they will take on d5. And if we put the queen on e8, they will take on f6. We give a check from here, they go King b5. And I don't think we can actually get to that king in time. I was trying to calculate c3, c4 check, but I think the king runs. And I don't think we chase it down successfully. So, what are our options here? If we take the knight on f4 with the knight, they play queen d7 check. And then they play h1 next move, and we have also moved away one of our pieces from where we were supposed to be giving mate, I think. So that doesn't feel right. Yeah, I kind of like king c4, but my issue with king c4 is if we play king c4, they take on d5, we play e8. We generate a very, very strong threat of queen b5 mate. But black has queen g4 check there. Once again, the king on c4 provides black with additional counterplay. And this is a bit of a problem. We could just sort of continue clicking, but it feels to me that, that doesn't, maybe we can play queen d4 there? Knight e3 check. No. That's a very, very beautiful move. If you can visualize king c4, knight d5, e8 queen, queen g4, queen d4. But my issue with that is that there is knight e3 check there. Why not e4 after? I think knight e3 check is a huge, big problem there. Maybe b3 in the king d2 line. Yeah, I thought about that actually. Plus, let me get that position once again. King d2 takes, e8 takes, check, king b5, b3. That was actually an idea I very seriously entertained. And then I realized queen d7 check exists. But maybe it's still winning? Is it? I don't think it is. I think also c5, c4 might solve the issues with the king. Yeah, this is a tricky one. And also the final of the Euro 2020 is starting, which is, of course, perfect timing. B4 check there. This is very interesting, Thai hero. But yeah, in your line there is no mate because the king runs away via the d5 square. Also, yeah, like it's a very beautiful idea, but I don't think it works. I kind of want to just start making moves, but I don't know which moves to start making, which hampers me quite a bit. King c4, knight d5. Is it maybe? No, I mean I kind of wanted to play e8 rook there just to kind of be an idiot. But apart from being an idiot, I don't think it does very much. It's sometimes nice to be an idiot, but I don't think it's one of those spots. So far when I got completely stuck, you guys bailed me out, and so far you are not bailing me out here. What's the right approach to solve the puzzle? Find the solution in your head starting from move 1. Ideally, you should be solving it from the starting position blindfolded, sort of blindfolded, staring at the board but not moving the pieces. This is how, let's say, I was taught to solve puzzles, solve studies, but some of them, and I think this one definitely belongs in that category, is difficult enough that you kind of want to shuffle pieces around, in particular if you're doing it like with friends and a cold one, and it's much more fun to just kick variations around. The issue with queen takes f4 is that I don't understand how we're replying to h1 queen, attacking the knight on d5. Is king on a5 coming home? Yeah, very, very possibly. You can never entirely rule this out. Let's just make, a move of some description. Yeah, we knew this was wrong. If I had to choose between king c2 and king c4 and king d2, just purely on, what do I think the solution is? England just scored, and I haven't seen the goal, and it's not even 2 minutes into the first half, and I'm very, very stressed right now. Yeah. This is also incorrect. I guess we actually have to take on f4. Because we definitely aren't going, like, king c2 is not a thing, right? So what do we take on f4 with? Like queen f4 and then queen d4 of some sort, but that doesn't make any sense, right? That just doesn't seem to be... Why is it queen h7? Like, this is the issue. It just gives me a check from h7 in this position, and I did not know how to solve h1. Like, this is a problem with... This is a problem with solving puzzles in this method when you just make moves on the board. I still don't know how h1 loses. Not gonna say lines, but h1 queen, white has made d6. Yeah, but like without saying lines, it really doesn't help me very much. I just don't understand how it loses. Queen takes a4. Yeah, this is very okay. At least I've stopped being an idiot on this particular topic. Queen h7. Let's continue. Let's continue from here. So if we go back here, and they play h1, is queen takes a4 no longer working? Question mark, question mark. a8, king a5. I feel like I would like to play king d2 here, but yeah, I don't see the mate. But I think king d2 makes more sense than playing e4. So let's see. Yeah, now h1, the knight is hanging. We need to play forcefully, so we take on a4. We put the queen on. They play king a5, and now we have to find the final touch here. We need to figure out how to give mate to this king without providing it with additional squares. So my issue is, if we play queen a8, king b5, now with the inclusion of queen h7 and king d2, a4 is not mate because the king will run towards this direction. So we need to do something else. We can play b4, obviously, but it runs in this direction, and then I still don't quite see the solution. But maybe it's, yeah, b4 just doesn't look right. You need to be more what's the word I'm looking for? We don't want to be driving it towards the squares where the second queen might even, participate in the defense. So we do this, and we're missing something relatively simple here, I would assume, but I don't quite know what. It's a draw, by the way, position 0-0-0, so you don't struggle for a long time looking for mate. Yeah, I mean, are we sure? All of these studies have been, very thoroughly vetted, so... I mean, I have a draw with queen e8 check here. Knight c7 distracts the queen, yeah, but for what purpose? I know it now. This is so beautiful. Oh my god. Sorry, I didn't want to explain to you before you see the final position, but this is so... Whoa, no. I mean, obviously not. Oof. This is... Yeah. I mean... This is a stunning final position. So, probably not a draw then, right? Bosnian Gambit. Yeah, there are two queens on the board, and there is no way to stop d3 mate. This is genuinely one of the most beautiful positions I've ever seen in my life. Thank you very much to Graham for suggesting this. I did not see this before, and yeah, this is extremely beautiful. Anyway, this concludes the solving part, and we have I guess the entirety of the first half, and you have no idea just, how sad I am pronouncing that sentence. We have the entirety of the first half to play some banter. So, line them up, we'll be knocking them down, and so on and so forth.